Teacher, UAE's biggest classroom.
Welcome back in conversation with Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim on the topic, are you playing favorites among your children? We were discussing about the disadvantages of favoritism on the favored child, and I think it's a lose-lose situation. The favored child or the disfavored child, all of them face a losing situation. Let's discuss the tips that we can share with parents as to how we can protect ourselves, the parents, from falling into this trap of playing favorites.
So when you're giving them tips, you're implying that all of them are showing favoritism?
No, that's why I said we. That's what I said.
True.
We. Tips for all of us. First and foremost, I think we should be sitting down and taking stock of the situation at home. If we are answering to the queries of one particular child of ours always negatively with sarcasm and anger, if we are spending less time with him, if we are spending less affectionate moments with him, if we are always tagging him as a, say, a troublemaker, a tough child, I think then we have a problem in hand. And the easiest way to identify this would be to write down the positive and negative traits of all your children, True. And then if the positive traits of your children are not more or less the same, then yes, we have a problem in hand.
True. That's a beautiful way to do that.
Yes. And if you're finding it really hard to identify this issue or discuss this issue with your spouse, I think you can bring in a third party, a relative or a very close friend. Can be taken into confidence. A person who interacts with the family on a regular basis, you can ask him whether he or she has noticed any differences in the way we treat our children, each of our children.
True.
That is the first and foremost thing to be done. Secondly, I think we all fall into this trap. We do not pitch our children against each other in competitions. We rarely do that. But even if we refrain from doing it, our kids might drag us into this, and ask us to play the role of a judge. Mama, whose painting is more pretty?
Oops,
yes,
very sensitive.
who ate faster?
Josh,
or who cleared up the mess faster? Who came back from school quickly? When I would say, don't ever tread into that territory. It's dangerous territory. Avoid being a judge between your kids. Rather, tell them that there's no point in competing between each other. You should be helping each other improve each other's personal tasks. What would you want to add?
I particularly liked the awareness part, because in most cases, Sunana, we deny the existence of a problem,
Yes. Either we are unaware or we brush it under the carpet and turn a blind eye.
Psychologically, we don't want to acknowledge that we are part of a problem. Even in marital counseling, the husband says, no, I'm not, no issues with me, I'm perfect. And the wife says the same thing. So I think this tip is amazing, sitting down and that doesn't have to involve anybody else, it could be done in private, sitting down and writing the name of the first child and the positive attributes. And then and if you find that one list has got only one or two items, that means you have not really looked at the positive aspects. Every child is unique, and it's really important, dear parents, because your perception leads to your behavior. So if you, on the other hand, I think if they start writing the negative, that's another way to do it as well.
Compare negatives as well.
Negative attributes, and you find that one guy has a long list of negative attributes. And I love the aspect of asking a close friend or a neighbor, and it's obvious. Sometimes you go to a house and you find it happening right in front of you. It's so obvious. What do you think about wives writing down positive qualities of husbands?
We'll come to that.
We'll be discussing that. And yes, about not playing the judge. Now, I've got another very important point. I think we've discussed it before, but let's discuss it again and again. It's about not comparing between your children. All of us do that. Sometimes we know we shouldn't do it, but we still do that. It's about saying, your brother's room is so neat. Look at the way he has arranged the bed, and look at your room. See how fast your sister has eaten food, and you're sitting here and spending a long time, and look at your son, look at the son, you know, he's completed his homework, now he's ready to play, and you're still sitting with on the first page. So we are constantly comparing, you know.
Right.
Now let's be fair, comparison is a way of life. It exists, it's a reality of life.
And you can't avoid it totally, I think, because they will be compared with their colleagues,
True.
with their friends in school.
True.
Yeah, so you can't avoid it completely.
I would like to elaborate a bit on this, and I see comparison. Yes, once they start working, they'll be compared with their colleagues.
Right.
You know, you have to do better than someone else. But comparing with someone who's so similar to you is always very painful. Let's ask this question to our viewers. You know, if you compare yourself with Anil Ambani's son, you know, you don't feel bad. Anil Ambani's son drives a Aston Martin, or, you know, probably drives a Porsche, and you don't feel bad because he's different. He looks weird. But just imagine you've gone to your college alumni function. Okay, you've taken your family. You're meeting after maybe 20 years. People have studied sitting in the same bench as you. You know, from very similar backgrounds, and suddenly someone comes in a chopper. Or someone comes in a very posh vehicle and says, you know, I've got these conglomerates and this is my business empire. And you'll think, why did I bring my wife and kids to this? Yeah, because you're comparing yourself with somebody very similar, and that hurts a lot. So when you're compared with your sibling,
I got the point.
You got the point, yeah. Now when we motivate students, when we do motivational sessions, both of us, we often tell them, you know, when we go to schools, we tell them, think of a scenario when you're coming back to this campus 20 years from now, you know, and how would you want to be treated? But that's another topic in itself. So we should never compare between siblings. But then there are some, you know, we call it learning points or teachable moments. Suppose one child is really doing well and you want the brother or the sister to learn from the child. Instead of saying be like him or be like her, take that practice. Suppose waking up in the morning and making sure that the bed is laid out correctly, or, you know, taking a bath at the right time, or praying on time, or doing homework as soon as he comes back. Take that practice and then introduce that to the child. My son, doing this is a best practice. That's a better option rather than wait and be tired and then sit with, when you don't have a perfect attention span, trying to complete your homework. So introduce the good aspects as best practices without saying, why don't you be like him or why don't you be like her? Now that's comparison is one reason where kids say, oh, my parents are not fair, you know, they're favoring someone else over that.
Yeah, since you mentioned sharing the best practice, let's look at the other side of the coin. I think we shouldn't expect kids to set examples of behavior and conduct. See, when you say, don't swear, that's rude to your elder one, that's rude. And then you say, the next sentence is, your younger one is learning from you.
True.
Yeah?
True. They might be just a few years apart, you know, and you expect the older one to be a role model.
Role model, set examples.
That's not in his job description.
Yeah,
you know?
but look at the implications. When you say that, the message that the elder one gets is, I shouldn't be rude, I shouldn't swear, that's rude, and I should subvert and adapt my behavior because my mom thinks or cares more about my younger one.
Oops, and I never explored that particular angle. That's dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to comply not because complying is the right thing, but because the parents don't want the younger child to get influenced.
Because my parents care more about the younger one. Rather, we should be saying, don't swear, that's rude, it's not good for you. Not that it's not good for the younger one, or the younger one is learning from you. So let's not expect that to happen, at least between siblings.
The intention is pretty honorable, but let's talk about taking a nice message and then distorting it.
Exactly, that's why this clicked when you said about sharing the best practice.
True.
Yeah.
I have a couple of other tips as well. Technically, in psychological studies, it's mentioned as never accommodate the lowest common denominator. You know what the LCD, lowest
LCM.
When you calculate LCM, you need to look at the lowest common denominator. You know. So what's the formula for LCD? Your children are watching. So it's very simple, though the terminology sounds tough. It always happens saying that, you know, they want to watch a movie, and the elder one is all excited, but the parents feel that there are certain scenes that the young one shouldn't watch. So instead of asking the young one to go and do something else, or maybe allowing him to watch something else, you know, on another gadget, you say, no, we can't watch this movie. Why? Because there are scenes inappropriate for the younger one. And the elder one is sitting and thinking, don't I belong in here? You know?
Yeah, same issue, right?
Exactly.
We care more about for the younger
True,
ones.
you tend to lower the standards. You know, be quiet, your sister is sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, this is the only time I get to make some ruckus, you know, and just because the sister is sleeping, I insulate the room for heaven's sake, you know, and allow me to play. Or, you know, you've gone out to the park to barbecue and spend some nice time, and then you say, it's getting too cold for your younger sister, let's go out. I know, I mean, of course you have to be considerate, but you should also consider the needs and wants of the other child as well. So that's really something that happens. One more example that I want to talk about, Sunaina, is parents should never take sides in a fight. I know this is extremely tough, okay? You might be thinking, what's this guy saying? You know, in a fight, it's very clear who started it and who continued it and all that, you know, and who was right and who was wrong. But psychologically speaking, no. If two parties are fighting, it's because both of them have contributed to the fight. You know, the other one could have just walked away. Or the other one could have, you know, if they're not sharing the computer and they've started coming to blows, one could have just come and complained to the parents, you know. But instead, a fight has started. That means both have contributed. So instead of coming there and playing judge, you talked about not playing a judge when they come and show their paintings,
Right.
but never play the role of a judge and say, this person is to be blamed, and you know, you are the accused and I condemn you to be grounded for the next 2 hours, while the other one is sitting there and, you know, with arms crossed and thinking, I got you, I caught you. So if a fight happens at home, make sure that the message that you send is both of you are responsible, because both of you plunged headlong into a fight, so both of you are grounded. So if punishments are being meted out for a fight that happens, make sure that you don't do the role of the judge and the executioner and stuff like that. Both of them gets punished. So that's what we would typically do. Now I think we can take a quick break right now, probably for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll have a summary of the tips for you. So time to take a very short break.
My Teacher, UAE's biggest class.